welcome to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast, Achieving Peace Through Compassion. This podcast is a recording of the Dharma Talks given during our Sunday service.
Hello. Today, the topic of my Dharma Talk is love. The Sanskrit word we're talking about is metta, and sometimes metta is translated as kindness. I am partial to translating it as love. And I'm going to start by reading to you a quote from The Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva. Here it is. I really like it. Whenever catching sight of others, look on them with a loving heart. Whenever catching sight of others, look on them with a loving heart. How different would our lives be if we did that? A lot of the time we're not doing it, I think. We judge people. We think we're separate from them, better than them sometimes. What are we talking about here? Love. To love others is to want them to have happiness. And to love yourself is to want yourself to have happiness. And in this set of teachings called the Four Immeasurables, love is differentiated from compassion, which is wanting less suffering. To have compassion for yourself is to want yourself to suffer less. To have compassion for others is to want others to suffer less. Okay, great, right? In his book, The Words of My Perfect Teacher, Petrol Rinpoche says, and I quote, "All beings are striving for happiness and comfort. They all want to be happy and comfortable. Not one of them wants to be unhappy or to suffer. Over and over again, meditate on the thought of how wonderful it would be if each of those beings could have all the happiness and comfort they wish. Meditate on it until you want others to be happy just as intensely as you want to be happy yourself." End quote. We all want to be happy and to avoid suffering. We can reflect on how we're connected to all other beings because we want that. We're all suffering with impermanence, with struggling with our delusions, with struggling with the vagaries of life. We all have that in common, and we're all getting older. We're all getting older. Can we just love each other? I don't know. We can do this practice of metta meditation, which is a practice I like a lot, to try to cultivate feelings of love. In my experience, this practice works. It has made me a more loving person. Petrol Rinpoche advises us to smile at other people, to make sure our actions are gentle and pleasant, and to work to help them rather than harming them. Because we are cultivating feelings of love toward others, it means we should be meeting them with kindness. If we sincerely want them to be happy, how could we be meeting them with anything else? Right? In her book, Boundless Heart, Christina Feldman says this about metta, and I quote, "It is seen to be the foundation of an ethical life of words, thoughts, and acts of integrity. Metta is not described as emotion or as a transient state, but as an abiding, the home where our hearts and minds dwell." End quote. Love is the foundation of everything we're doing. And the reason why I prefer the word love to the word kindness for this is because I feel like kindness just doesn't say enough about how powerful and important it is. And love does. Everybody knows love is big and important, I think. I think so. So this love is a foundational teaching in Buddhism. Like I said, it's one of the four immeasurables, along with compassion, joy, and equanimity. And it's that wanting happiness. I think when we talk about living an ethical life, one way to help us live an ethical life is to generate those feelings of love, right? So I could try to be a good person because I've taken vows to be good, right? Or because that's what the teachings say I should do, right? Because that's what Buddhas do, is try to make the world a better place. But I have found that if I start from generating feelings of love, that's a lot more helpful than restraint. Love is more helpful to me than starting with restraint. And that's not to say restraint is not good. Restraint is a very good thing. But I don't want to, sort of white knuckle it to try to fight my urges to hurt other people. I want to love them so that hurting them isn't something that occurs to me. And the truth is, wanting happiness for ourselves and others is a manifestation of our true nature, our Buddha nature. A teaching, is that human beings, like you and me, are basically good at our core. We just have that greed, hatred, and delusion getting in our way and stopping us from seeing our true nature and from dwelling in our true nature. The Zen master Sung San said, attain enlightenment and then help others. And that's what he was talking about. And I struggled with this basic goodness teaching at first because of the amount of harm people do to each other in this world. But I've seen at the same time in my own life, as I've worked on overcoming my own greed, hatred, and delusion, that I'm more inclined to be kind to others. I am less inclined to be selfish. And that's what gives me confidence, or maybe even faith, in this teaching. In his book, The Four Immeasurables, the teacher B. Alan Wallace wrote, and I quote, "The very root of this yearning for happiness, this yearning to be free of suffering, is the fundamental expression of Buddha nature. If, for the time being, we turn our gaze away from the myriad ways we can stray from the agenda, trying to find happiness by buying a more luxurious car, or a bigger house, or getting a better job, and just come back to the primary desire of wishing to be happy, we find at the very source of our yearning for happiness, the Buddha nature wanting to realize itself. It's like a seed that wants to spring into the sunlight." End quote. That's the thing. We're always yearning for more and more. And if we learn to be honest with ourselves, we'll slowly start to realize that happiness isn't going to come from having the right amount of money in our bank account or the right kind of love or attention from other people. It's in here. It's in us. It's in us. And the four immeasurables, love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, they're considered to be all equally important. Metta is the one that has its own sacred text, the Metta Sutta. And it's a teaching the Buddha gave to some monks. I've told this story here before, and I'm going to tell the incredibly short version now. These monks went to meditate in the woods because in that Buddha's time, sometimes monks would just go places and meditate. And in the woods, they thought they saw ghosts. They were scared of ghosts in the scary woods. So they went to the Buddha and they were just like, hey, we can't meditate in there with these scary ghosts around. And so he gave them the Metta Sutta. A lot of these Buddhist sacred texts, suttas and sutras, are really just a speech the Buddha gave, or a speech the Buddha gave, or a Q&A. That's what a lot of these sacred texts are, and that's what this one is. And so he taught them that if they filled their minds and hearts with love, these ghosts in the forest wouldn't bother them. And so they had this teaching, and they went back to the woods, and they were able to meditate. They did not have problems with ghosts. Now, I tend to think that their minds became so distracted with love that they stopped imagining ghosts that aren't real. Some people think that their minds became so filled with love that the ghosts did not want to hurt them. They did not want to hurt such loving people. I'm of a certain age, so when I imagine ghosts, I imagine the ghosts from Pac-Man. They probably didn't look like the ghosts from Pac-Man. So, but both views are fine. The point is that love worked. Love wins, as people sometimes say. And we can do that too, of course. If we're filling our minds and hearts with love, then we have less space in our minds and hearts for anxiety. We have less space in our minds for whatever ghosts we're worried about. Or less for our own, whatever nonsense is making us make bad choices. So, I'm going to read to you a version of the Metta Sutta out loud. Here it is. The Metta Sutta. This is to be done by one skilled in aims who wants... Sorry, this is the Buddha speaking. This is to be done by one skilled in aims who wants to break through to the state of peace. Be capable, upright, and straightforward. Easy to instruct. Gentle and not conceited. Content and easy to support, with few duties, living lightly, with peaceful faculties, masterful, modest, and no greed for supporters. Do not do the slightest thing that the wise would later censure. Think, happy at rest, may all beings be happy at heart. Whatever beings there may be, weak or strong, without exception, long, large, middling, short, blatant, seen and unseen, near and far, born and seeking birth, may all beings be happy at heart. Let no one deceive another, or despise anyone anywhere, or through anger or irritation wish for another to suffer. As a mother would risk her life to protect her child, her only child, even so should one cultivate a limitless heart with regard to all beings. With goodwill for the entire cosmos, cultivate a limitless heart. Above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without enmity or hate, whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, as long as one is alert, one should be resolved on this mindfulness. This is called a sublime abiding here and now. Not taken with views, but virtuous and consummate in vision, having subdued desire for sensual pleasures, one will never again lie in the womb. End quote. So they memorized this, and they just had this in their minds while they were meditating in the forest, and it worked. What if we're just spending time thinking about spreading kindness and love? And sure, it sounds sort of old-fashioned to say that, but we can live in a more wholesome and kind way. I'm reminded of that song, Try a Little Tenderness, which was made popular by Otis Redding. It's a message to people having relationship problems, like, maybe if you try being nice, that'll help. So, the Metta Sutta presents us a whole path. If we're kind, if we try to cultivate that limitless heart, that boundless heart that cares for all beings, including ourselves, then we can attain enlightenment that way. Love can be our path. I used to think that I didn't want teachings on things like love and compassion. I thought to myself, well, I don't even love other people that much. I don't even like other people that much. Why would I work on this? But I came around. And to me, love and compassion are the whole path. Love and compassion are the whole path. And when we do practices like metta meditation, where we bring to mind different individuals and we wish happiness for them, we're setting our intention to be more loving. We're setting our intention to be more loving. And that's why that's my metta meditation is my favorite practice. And you just do it by, it's a step-by-step practice. You visualize yourself and you mentally say the words, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering. And then you visualize someone you love and you say the words, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering. And you work through from yourself to people you love, through people you just kind of like, to people you don't have feelings about, to eventually people you really do not like. And you just keep doing this practice. And I like to lead that every time I lead the Sunday service because it's a practice that means so much to me. And I think we can be more loving with practices like that. And also with Tonglen practice also helps with that. That's for generating compassion. Metta meditation's for generating love. And these two practices are wonderful and have done great things for me. So let's see if we can be more loving. I really think we can. And I hope this talk is helpful. I love you all.
Thank you for listening to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast. Music was provided by Barefoot Brand Music. Please consider supporting the Rime Buddhist Center by making a donation at our website at www.rimecenter.org/donate.